And welcome back to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. I'm Ryan Burr, joined as always by the founder of the Junior Golf Hub, Roger Nick. Roger, boy, time just keeps on cooking here. And very interesting. Of course, PGA Tour season comes to an end. Now the President's Cup on the horizon, a Solheim Cup for the ladies, kind of that move into that fall silly season. College season could not be any more in the thick of things. High school seasons. Now, high school is a little different. The country's kind of split. Some play their men's and women's golf in the fall. Others play it in the spring. But for the majority, it is a fall sport, and they are in full swing. So it's definitely, especially for our listeners, that junior golf and high school golf, college golf, this is about as peak as it gets.
It really is, and it's interesting how it's changed, right? The emphasis of college golf now in the fall, as much as it is in the spring, and how important it is to kind of launch their seasons and keep their rankings up. High school golf, we are in that fall season category here in the Northeast, which is actually the best time of year to play golf. So it's kind of awesome to see. The spring is so short here, if you will. Down south, I mean, it's a little bit like a split bag, like you said. So watching some of these players prepare to, attend some of these major events coming up for in the junior world, if you will. You've got some major ones coming. You got Kashada coming, the MD3 National Championship. You've got the Orange Bowl. You've got so many optimists. You got so many opportunities. It's really in full swing in the sense of let's get prepared to really make an impact, right? So a little different.
Yeah, for sure. We welcome in our guest this week to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast, the head coach at the University of New Mexico, Jake Harrington. Coach, first of all, thanks so much for joining us today on the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. A great guest because your resume really covers just about every possible coaching stop that we could talk about, from community college to obviously what you did at Little Rock, which is beyond remarkable in the Sun Belt, and now obviously a big time program with incredible history at the University of New Mexico. Is coaching, or did you have to reinvent yourself at every stop?
No, that's a great question, and it's one that I had to figure out for myself. And I tell people I spent the first couple of years in Little Rock trying to recreate myself and trying to be like, oh, now I'm a D1 coach, I got to do things different. And then I had one of my players come up to me and said, Coach, what'd you do at South Mountain that made you guys so dominant? He's like, nobody ever touched you guys, and I got thinking about that. I'm like, well, we won 3 national championships by 70 shots. I mean, maybe golf is golf, and we're not playing very good here in Little Rock. And I realized, you know what? Golf is golf, and coaching is coaching. And it's just, you recruit better players, you recruit more elite players, and then you become a better coach. But it's a lot of the same principles. It's the same, drills that I do. It's the course management that I do. It's how you think about a golf course. It's golf psychology. It's all the same stuff. But every year that you coach, you just have to present it different, because even if you bring one person on your team that's different than the year before, that's an entirely different team. And you have to figure out how to say the message the right way, how to get across to them, and you better have 10 different ways to get to the same point. And that's what I feel like I do really good, is find ways to get guys motivated and get more out of them than they believe they can get out of themselves.
Well, Jake, thanks for being on. And Ryan, it sounds like it's just winter. It just speaks winter here. I mean, right? So, Jake, we get a lot of questions about, that different divisions of golf, right? For junior golfers coming into college, they're so worried or reluctant to look at community college versus JUCO versus D2 and so forth. They all want Division I, right? We get it. But from a coaching perspective, could you tell the audience a little bit about, like, golfers are golfers, golf is golf, but what is your perspective there, so the audience has something to take away from today?
Well, yeah, and honestly, I speak from a personal level too, because I played at South Mountain Community College 1 year myself. I was one of the top 10 players in the country. I committed to play at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And the end of May, the coach calls me up and says, Title IX, we got to give your scholarship to the women's team. I had nowhere to go with 2 months. My teammate had been recruited to Holy Names University, a private school in Northern California. They were an NAIA school at the time. And the coach found out I was available, offered me a full ride. And I come from a family of 6 kids. I had to take the offer. I couldn't afford to go anywhere else. If I wanted to keep playing college golf, that's where I needed to go. And I went there and I felt really sorry for myself for the first month and a half I was there. I'm not a D1 golfer. I'm not this. And then I was talking with my dad and finally realized you don't get recruited to play on the PGA Tour. And if you can play golf, you can play golf, and as wherever you can get really good, if you have the right connection with the right coach and the right facilities, and you can get good there, you can be on tour. Abraham Answer played junior college golf. You look at Jim Knaus played at Colorado School of Mines, an engineering school.
Yeah.
I think he's a pretty freaking good player, And so if you find the right spot, and that's even the problem with the portal today, is there's kids that go in the portal that maybe shouldn't because they got really good under the right situation for them, and then they go take that next step because that's the right step. Oh, PGA Tour you this, PGA Tour that. Yes, it's there, and yes, it's sexy. But if you find the right place where you're getting better in golf with the right coach, those things matter. And so for me as a player, now me as a coach, is there's a spot for everybody and it's unique to the individual. So if you find the place that you have that connection, um, that's where you need to be. And same thing with the swing coach, right? You may have two swing coaches telling you the exact same thing. One just says it a little different, and now you're like, wow, that makes sense. I've had players do that, like, oh, coach, Jimmy told me this. Like, I've been telling you that for 3 months. It's like, but it just hits different. And if you find that, that's unique. And that's what I honestly think people need to realize a little more is that's what it's about. You see that with tour players all the time with all the money get thrown at them when it comes to clubs. It's like, oh, I've played ping my whole life. Oh, but Titleist is going to give me this. And now they can't play good. And it's like, well, you just switched everything that made you good. And
Yeah.
so it's very similar to that. And we're coming up on a day and age of what's the NCAA going to do with, is it going to be 9 roster spots? Is it going to be this? And what are all those limitations? And what does that mean for the portal? So I would strongly urge people to say, hey, really get to know the coach, get to know who they are, and let your son or daughter get to know the coach because they're going to have to deal with that person every day, right? So make sure that's the right fit for the son or daughter, and it's not the same for everybody.
Well, it
Certainly.
sounds like to me that from your perspective, and you've got a great one, right? You've gone the gamut here, being able to, when you're talking to a recruit, giving them some really good, honest, and open conversation about the golf ball doesn't care where you go to school, but if you want to make a certain level of player, go to where you can play. Is that's really the bottom line?
Absolutely. You get a lot better playing golf than you do on a driving range.
Yeah.
I mean, and, I'm very transparent when I recruit the players because I want them to have conversations, but they need to ask the hard questions that are important to them. They need, it should be the best 4 years of your life, and it's the most important 4 years of your life when it comes to, am I going to be a professional golfer, or am I just going to be a really good golfer that uses that to be a great business person? And find out what that is, because I tell guys all the time, this might need, New Mexico might not be the right program for you, because I'm going to demand that you're elite in everything you do in life. You're going to be an elite golfer, you're going to be elite in the classroom, and you're going to be an elite human being. And if you don't want to work that hard, don't come here because you're not going to like me, and you're not going to have any fun. But if you want to work hard and you want to do those things, then we can have a lot of fun, because we work hard, but we have a lot of fun doing it. But you need to have those honest conversations. I had it with the kid when I first got here. He was an engineering major, and I said, buddy, like, the engineering, the schedule for classes just doesn't quite mesh up here in New Mexico. And I told him about Knaus, and I said, dude, if you want to be an engineer and that's your fallback and that's what your passion is, I will call the coach myself for you and get you to a spot where it they do it successfully to play golf and be an engineer. And so you just have to find those things. Hey, what do I want to do academically? And what school lines up with that golf wise, and also my level of golf where I want to be. So it's a dance, right? But there's spots for everyone for sure.
Wow. Awesome message. You have mentioned it a couple times, and obviously it is the new biggest change for not only men's Division I golf, but for really all sports right now with the portal. We have a different head coach every week on this podcast. We've had national championships at D1. We've had just men, women that have from all different coaching walks, and we've gotten a million different answers on how they handle the portal. Some have stopped recruiting junior golfers and strictly use the portal because they want that experience. Others are only interested in 4 year of culture, and their way is the way. Are you a mix, or what's your response been to this incredible new development that is the portal with so many kids in it?
I think you have to look at every avenue. Would I love to fully just home groom my own kids? Yes. But I also think you're a little naive if you don't look in the portal. Um, if you take into another sport, I actually heard something the other day about, if you look at Clemson football was a power 5 years ago. Dabo Sweeney had a strong stance not going in the portal. Where is Clemson right now? And just go back to golf. Look at golf and look at every team that plays the national championship. Almost every single team will have one person that got out of the portal.
Mhm.
We're very fortunate this year. I lost the number 16 ranked player in the world and Bastion Amat to graduation.
Mhm.
How do you replace 16 in the world? You can't really do it.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough to get Wyatt Province, who is the Division II national champion. He went in the portal. He's from Amarillo, Texas, pretty close to here. He won national championship by 5 shots as a freshman. I should look at him, and I did, and I took him.
Yeah.
And Mesa Fleur, another one that was at UMKC, was the conference player of the year, and we took him in here. He's a stud, but you have to look at both. I love the high school kid, but like when I recruit, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you've done. Can you get the ball in the hole quicker than the next person? And that's what I have to look at because talent's going to lose me my job. Potential is going to lose me my job. But how we work out there and establish as a team is very important. But for me, the hardest thing about the portal is I have open, honest conversations with the coach they came from. And that's the thing that people need to realize is your plan may be to go somewhere and then transfer, but you darn well better have a great relationship and upfront relationship with your coach because I'm going to call that coach and all the other coaches are going to call and be like, is this kid a turd or is he good or what? Why is he leaving you? And I had those conversations and they're like, I don't want to lose him, but I love this kid. He does everything right. And that's what I need to hear because, culture is everything for me. And I know it's thrown around a lot, but my first year of coaching back in 2007, 2008, I was diagnosed with cancer. And luckily we found it really early and I haven't had it since. But I look at the same thing as my teams. If you get one kid in there that's a cancer, he can destroy an entire team. But if you have the right and the right framework and work ethic with all your guys, is you can have really elite teams.
Yeah, Coach. Well, first of all, congrats on survival of cancer. That's awesome. Second, just kind of listening to what you're saying, and knowing that we deal, Ryan and I, and Noda, we have our arms way down in the junior golf area, right? So, junior golfers and parents are always looking for these opportunities, but just really don't understand that greater landscape of your job. You're in a business, you're in a college business, and I think people don't realize that college is a business, and going to college and playing sports at college, regardless of the level, it's still a business, and you have big decisions to make. And it's not a novelty to pick some kid because they're just good or the parents are nice and you really want to. It really is a hard decision for a lot of coaches to narrow down their recruiting or the recruits and then actually pick those. And it does come down to a little bit of like, well, I got to keep my job. I want to keep the culture strong. And sometimes those junior golfers do get left out, is there something that you would recommend for a junior golfer that, let's say he's on your top 5 list and recruits? He doesn't quite make your pick, right? He's just left out there. What would you tell that kid or those parents? Obviously, there's opportunities. Yeah, we talked about going to junior college, but their goal is to play the PGA Tour or bust. Is there an avenue that kid just goes, you know what? I'm not great in academics. I really just want to play on the tour. Is there another avenue? Is there something that you would also say to those kids?
Another avenue besides college?
Yeah.
There are, but they're very expensive, and you better have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think no matter what level of college golf it is, you're going to get way more experience for better bang for your buck than doing it on your own. And I bet you there's so many parents out there watching that their summers are expensive. It's traveling, it's hotels. I had a kid come up to me when I was a junior college coach, said, "Which I appreciate, but I'm just going to turn pro." And I said, "Do you have a sponsor?" He says, "Well, yeah." And I said, "How much?" He said, $10,000. And I said, "Okay." I said, "That may cover some entry fees for the Sunshine Tour or something, at the Golden State Tour, whenever we were," and he was looking to go to California. I said, "But let me ask you this." I said, "Who's going to rent the car?" "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "You're 18. You're not renting a car. So now you got to pay for somebody else to travel with you to rent the car." I said, "You haven't accounted for even buying a cheeseburger." Like all these things, like, and yes, there's those avenues. You better be wealthy and have a lot, but man, I just think education is so important. I have my master's degree. It's very important to me. It's why I drill home to my guys. You know, when I was at South Mountain, we won 3 national championships, but we also won 3 academic national championships at the same time. Because for me, it's not just that. Like, have a backup plan, be able to be successful in life and whatever that is, and have that piece of paper that some businesses look for just to validate that you are smart. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't necessarily mean you're smart because you have the paper, but it validates what maybe it checks off the list what people are looking for, right? So my thing is, and I did, some golf camps over in Thailand, and the reason I did it was because I wanted to end poverty over there, where these kids thought, oh, my kid's the next Tiger Woods. Okay, they're really good, but use your education to use your golf to get your education paid for, because I never wanted to be a golf coach. This wasn't something I wanted to do, but I fell into it one year and then loved it and realized I'm really good at it and I'm passionate about it. And I'm sure glad that I got turned down after 8 months of interviews with the CIA to be an undercover agent. Like, I'm glad I'm not an undercover agent right now. I got a lot less trouble out there.
Yeah.
As much as the NCAA sometimes feels like trouble, I'm in a lot better spot than I was if I would be an undercover agent right now. So you don't know what your future is. And yes, you have the points, but man, it is a curvy, windy road to get you there. So make sure you check all the boxes. And I just think, plus, it's such a cool environment in golf at any level. We have, with my teams, with my teammates in junior college, we talk about those 7-hour car rides that aren't as sexy as the private jets you see with some of these schools. But man, those were some of the times where we talk about still to this day, hey, you remember when we did this or did that? And man, you just can't change those that's life, and you have that forever. And man, there's some great human beings, players at every single level, and it's awesome.
Yeah, those are the best times, those bus rides. I remember those still to today. I mean, I think that's what we
Yeah,
talk about most for sure, and what we talked about, during those rides.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Coach, in 18 days, you're going to have a short bus ride, but you are going to see some of those private jets parked at the tournament that you're the host school in heading to. For those that don't know, the University of New Mexico men's and women's team will both be on national television, 6 hours in the prime time on the East Coast with Stanford, Texas, and New Mexico State. First of all, do you guys talk about it much about the fact that they're going to be playing for the whole world to see? Does it come up? Is there an excitement level that it's less than 3 weeks away?
Well, there's definitely an excitement level. We try not to talk about it too much right now because today's the practice round of our home tournament. Another one here at the Tucker, here at the UNM Championship course. So we're trying to take advantage of that first. But it is so awesome to be able to be in the position we are with NOTA and the tournament to host out at Twin Warrior. I mean, it's an awesome venue, and to be on national television during the Balloon Fiesta to really celebrate Albuquerque and the surrounding areas, to the Santa Ana Pueblo and all that, it's going to be first class because Nota's name's on it. He's going to make it first class. And then just the different stories with Coach Fields coming back. He's one of my mentors. One of the reasons I'm here at New Mexico. And to have him back in town and Stanford in town, it's going to be awesome. And we're super excited about it. We're pumped to be the host for it, and to get out there on national television and show what we have here.
Let me piggyback that with this. We do talk about recruiting. You do talk about good players make you a good coach. Really good players make you a winning coach. You have in the conversation for one of the great golf courses in the country at the University of New Mexico. You're playing on national television. You've had a player that just a year ago was inside the top 20 in the world. How attractive is the University of New Mexico as you recruit around the world with all these things that you have to back up what your program currently has?
You know, one of the exciting things is going to show in a couple of weeks is how beautiful New Mexico is and what we have. Because you look at today's day and age of four and this, that, and the other, and what people have, you can't replace what we have here in New Mexico. We're technically not a Power Four school, but we are in golf. And the reason we are in golf is because of the facilities we have, because of the community we have here when it comes to the golf community. People love basketball and they love golf here. And that's why we're really good in both sports. And when they come out here, I mean, last year on that team, we had 4 guys in tournament rounds. We averaged 71 or better on the road. At home, we were over 73.2. So we're 2 shots worse at home. So as a top 20 team, that tells you how good our golf is.
Yeah.
And then when they see your facilities, they see, oh man, you get to come up here and play Twin Warrior. You're playing Sandia. You're playing Paco. You're playing Albuquerque Country Club, Canyon Club, all these places, and everybody here's a Lobo. And that's the cool thing about it is they love it. And once you realize that, and that's what it was in my recruiting process coming here, besides the fact that I was really good friends with Glenn Milliken, Coach Fields, a mentor, and Coach Knight when I first got into it was one of my guys, and just okay, wow, there's a lot of things lining up to me being at New Mexico, was the people here are incredible. And they call it the land of enchantment and sometimes the land of entrapment. And there's a lot of our alumni that came from Texas or other places, and when they went to school here, they never left. And to me, I'm like, okay, sometimes you hear about, oh, Albuquerque this, Albuquerque that. But when I come here and people stay here, that's got to say something about this place. And that's really, we found that true in the just over a year that I've been here is, man, this place is beautiful. The people are awesome and the golf is great.
You know, Coach, just staying on that line about recruitment, and obviously that's a great opportunity to highlight your program there, but just in general, what would you say to the audience? Give us 3 really good things that you look for in a junior player that you'd go, you know what, these are must-haves for me to even start the recruiting process. What are those things?
Well, golf scores matter. I can find a lot of that on the internet. And what I'll tell a lot of the juniors is this, that you don't quite understand. When I come watch tournaments, I'm watching how you interact with your competitors and how you interact with your parents. Because if you treat your parents bad or you're selfish to your parents, I'm crossing you off the list because that's how you're going to treat me. If the person that birthed you that's how you're treating them, then me, somebody who's going to only have you 4 years, you're not going to have that respect for me. And I think that's very important. That's what a lot of coaches will look at is, you know, how you treat those around you and how they gravitate towards you or away from you. Another thing is, oh man, coach came and I played awful. Good. I want to see you play awful. Like, quite frankly, I do. Because guess what? Now I get to see your true character. I get to see how you handle adversity. So when things don't go your way, then how are you going to act? How are you going to react and treat the people around you and treat yourself, quite frankly? Because golf is a lot like life, and you get smacked in the face really hard sometimes. And I want to know what's your build of stuff that I can't find on the internet. So those are 2 major things right there when it comes to what coaches really look at that you may not fully understand. And then a third one is probably your interaction with the coach. Are you calling and talking to coach, or is mom or dad calling and talking to coach? Because we have to be able to have that. We may love the parents. Oh, man, I love talking with this father, this. And then you talk to the player and it's like, I can't get him to say anything to me. You know,
Yeah.
the conversation just stops. And so those things are very important when you're deciding where to go and having those conversations. Is as coaches, we want to have that relationship. I tell my players all the time, I love coaching you. I want you to have the best 4 years of your life, but I also want to be a part of when you get married. I want that invitation. You have a kid. I want that invitation and let me know. I want to be a part of your life. And that's what we look for, is just having great human beings around us, because we do spoil them and sometimes we create an entitlement, right? But like I told my team, I'll give you everything, but if you say thank you and you really appreciate it, I'm going to do a lot more for you than if it's just like, well, coach, why don't I get this? Why don't this? Why don't that? Then I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to make it to where you're not going to enjoy it. But those things are very important, in my opinion, on what to look for. And one thing I'll tell the juniors, and I say it a lot when I go speak, is, you know, and I'll ask you guys, what's the best day to contact a coach? Sunday through Saturday. What do you think the best day is to contact a coach?
Sunday.
And a lot of people would say that, but guess what? We travel on Saturday, play practice rounds on Sunday, tournaments Monday, Tuesday a
Yes.
lot. And I tell these players and these parents, and they don't fully realize that. I say Wednesday is actually the best day, mostly to contact a coach, because the day we get back from a tournament, we have to give our players the day off.
Mhm.
And when we give them the day off, that's the time for us to catch up on emails. And if you sent me an email on Sunday, it's now at the bottom of this. But if you send it to me Wednesday morning, I'm looking at it and I actually don't have distractions that day because I gave them the day off. And
Yeah.
so it's very unique because you don't fully understand that. But those are some like unique things. Like if you're going to contact New Mexico, look at my schedule and see where I'm at and be like, oh, guess what? Jake is done with this tournament on Saturday. Contact coach this Sunday because he got done with the tournament Saturday. And now I have that interaction. So it's unique that way. To that's just a little tidbit for those
Yeah.
juniors out there and their parents, I think, is something that's overlooked a lot.
Amazing. Well, Coach, what you've done is incredible. Can't wait to see you up close in a couple weeks. And certainly it is not a shock to having spent a little time with you here, why you have been as successful as anyone that coaches golf anywhere. So keep it going. We'll see you in a couple weeks. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, Raj, that was a little different than anything we've had here on the Junior Golf Podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, handing out hacks for the junior golfer on when to contact the coaches. I mean, that is not at all surprised to see the success that he's had.
Yeah, and not at all. I mean, you can just hear his joy for the game. His intention is to build good young people, young men, if you will, in his program. And then it's not just about golf; it is the medium in which he gets to interact. So it's very, very clear that that's a big part of it. I love that question that he asked us, Ryan. You know, one of the things that we do all the time on the Junior Golf Hub is making sure that we ask a bunch of coaches like those kind of questions. When is the best time to contact you? My answer there would have been Thursday, right? Because a lot of times right before they travel, they want to get their inboxes empty, that kind of thing. But we do hear that quite often from the coaches. It's look at our schedule, know that the day we get done with tournaments, that's an off day typically, and then or the day before we travel, because they're on bookends in the sense of trying to get everything done before they leave. So that's great question. He gave us some good. I thought that was some great insights.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and certainly recruiting is intimidating. It's as challenging as ever before because of the portal, because of everything that's going on right now with the NCAA. The reality is, as a parent, as a player, you need help. You just need information. And, I get this all the time from people that are listening to the podcast and say, I've learned so much about recruiting I never knew before by just listening to the podcast. Well, certainly the podcast helps, but juniorgolfhub.com is really, that is the place you want to be, where you get all that information in front of you. It actually does 90% of the work for you as far as starting the recruiting process. The rankings are great. We love the new ranking system. Certainly we talk about PDI on this podcast a ton, but the the brunt of what the Junior Golf Hub is. It is the hub of junior golf. It will allow you so many different tools, but certainly starting the recruiting process is the bread and butter.
It really is, and it's when you start it, and the information is so easily laid out there for them to understand, like just to ask the right questions, when to ask the right questions, how to ask the right questions. They're all laid out so easy and simple there in the Essentials Guide. It's just a great educational tool.
Well, we thank Coach Harrington. Of course, as always, thank you, Roger, fitting us in on this busy schedule. The reaction and response to this podcast continues to amaze me in weird places where people want to talk about the podcast. So we thank you for continuing to listen in a lot of different ways that the podcast is available. We'll continue to email it out from the NB3 side. We know that a ton of you are consuming it that way, but certainly to Michael Nick, who makes all this happen, we thank him as always. Thank you to Roger, and we'll see you next time on the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast.